adrenaline's pumping so fast. So, at first I wasn't scared.
Right, you're still in the battle.
Yeah. As it began to get longer, I recognized the predicament I was in, and the chances of me getting out started looking slimmer and slimmer. And then the reality started setting in. All I had was a snub-nosed pistol, and I had taken my flares out of it and put in round balls. Well, it only carried 5 shots, and it was a snub-nosed. They had AK-47s. Who was going to win that war?
This is Herb Wheeler. I visited Herb at his home in Glade Springs, where he lives with his wonderful wife Peggy, as well as his dog Baxter, who makes a few appearances in the background of this video. Herb grew up in Beckley, West Virginia, and graduated from Concord College before joining the Navy during the Vietnam War. He became a fighter pilot and survived his plane being attacked by enemy forces and ejecting from the plane in the middle of the jungles of Laos with nothing but a snub-nosed pistol. Before even sitting down for the interview, Herb took me on a tour of his home, where I got to see an entire glass case full of 1950s and 60s toys and action figures that he's collected over the years. He couldn't hide his disappointment over the fact that I didn't know who Dick Tracy was, and we spent a few minutes looking through those comic books and getting a taste of where his action-packed life may have begun. But his prized hobby is his collection of model and radio-controlled planes, some of which are exact replicas of the planes he flew all around the world.
You flew this one in Desert Storm?
I've flown this one all over the world.
This week's episode is full of incredible stories you won't want to miss, so be sure to stick around until the end for this episode of Mountain Memories.
That played a big role in my life. The Scoutmaster was a real role model. He would take his vacations. Every year, he would take the boys camping. And we would camp sometimes in the winter, sometimes in the summer. I mean, he gave himself to the boys. From then on, it was my heart's desire to become a military pilot. But the Boy Scouts really cemented that into who I became. I had more than enough merit badges, but I missed one from being an Eagle Scout. I swam like a rock, and I almost drowned the instructor. And who would have thought that I would have ended up in the Navy and had to swim a mile in my clothes and tread water with my hands in the air for 5 minutes with boots and a flight suit on, and never lost sight of my goal. And there was hardly a week went by I didn't think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. After you flew so many missions, you would get an air medal. At 6 o'clock that morning, someone came in and said, "Hey, we need a pilot." And so I ended up flying the mission. So we launched at 8 o'clock, but I was not flying with my normal backseater because we were assigned as a crew throughout the war, and the same guys flew together all the time. So it was a 2-man airplane. The guy that I flew with we called him a newbie. Well, that's not what we really called him, but he was a new guy. And I had never flown with him. It was his air medal mission. And as he goes out the door, he turns around and says, "Hey, if I don't come back, do I still get my air medal?" And everybody hee-hawed and what have you. So we go out, we get in the airplane, and we launch. And that was at 8 o'clock. At 9 o'clock that morning, we're both sitting on the ground, right over the target. And we landed about half a mile apart when we ejected from the airplane. He went out because the airplane was rolling, and as it rolled level, I told him to eject, and we were going down like this, and it was rolling. And then when he went out, it rolled again, and as it rolled the second time, I pulled the handle, and to be truthful, I could see the tree so close, I thought there's no way I'm going to clear the airplane. But I did. And the chute opened, but we landed about a half a mile apart. And he landed out in elephant grass, and I landed in the jungle. And we carried survival radios where we could talk to the planes overhead and let them know that we were on the ground, the status. So we both checked in. He was okay, I was okay, that we could tell, you know. Of course, the adrenaline's pumping pretty tough like that. You felt like you could have a leg off and felt like you were okay, you know. But anyway, we both checked in. 30 minutes later, he comes on the radio and says that he's surrounded and he's going to be captured. And at that time, up until that time, I thought, this is going to be a piece of cake. They're going to get me out of here, or get us out of here. Well, when I heard that, I thought, holy smoke, this isn't going to be a piece of cake. They know where we are, and they're here. And I could hear them looking for him. And I could hear him looking for me. I heard a little while later, before I was rescued, a single gunshot. And I thought, they killed him. One of them had seen him under a bush and fired a shot at him. And that's what that single shot was. After Jim was captured, they started focusing in on me. And I could hear them getting closer, and they were just spraying the bushes as they would walk ahead. And that was typically the way they would do it. They wanted to try to make the individual run. And I had tried to hide best I could, and my chute was sticking up in the tree so they could see from overhead, the planes could see my parachute in the top of the tree. Because I knew that if I was going to get rescued, they had to get me right away. I remember one time I said, I've got someone shooting real close to me, and I'd give them my position, my clock position. And he said, okay, get your head down. And they were coming in and bombing and strafing so close to me that when it would impact the ground, the dirt would blow up and hit my helmet. So they were really, and they could see some of them, and so they were getting pretty close. I was rescued, and when they rescued me, the helicopter had me to pop the smoke, and the smoke drifts up through the canopy of the trees, and they can see where the area where you are, but that also lets the enemy know where you are as well. So they come flying in, and of course they can't land. They have to drop the jungle penetrator down through the jungle, and it's a cable with a hook on it, and you've got a place on your harness where you hook onto it and clip onto it, and then they just jerk, they pull you up. Well, they came under fire, so they didn't just pull me up and then take off. They took off, and I was still dangling from the cable. And so I was like a ping pong ball bouncing all over the place. The only reason I got rescued, the only reason, was another pilot had gone down several days before, and they hadn't been able to locate him. And they were just about to give up, but they were so close to I was so close to where he had gone down, they diverted those airplanes over to me as soon as they got the call. And so they started flying cover for me. And had it not been for that, I would not have gotten out of there. I felt guilty. Yeah. You know, I couldn't help but think, why me? Why him? Why not me? We didn't hear from the backseater. His name was Jim. We didn't hear from him until 3.5 years later, when they started to release the prisoners. And then they found out that he was alive. Now, Jim ended up, when he got out of released as a POW, we were stationed in San Diego, homeside, stateside. He wrote a book. It was called Patriot Prisoner Survivor by Jim Bettinger. And it's a really good book to read. It tells you what the living conditions were when he got there and how the things that they went through. There were hundreds of aviators that went down in Laos, but only 7 came home.
If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it and to subscribe to our channel. You never know what stories are going to come next. Also, if you have a story that you would like to share or you'd like to support our channel, you can go and visit our website, which is in a link in the description below. Let's keep sharing the stories that made us.